just came from an antique mall that sits along the highway. Drinking too much coffee. Sits along the highway. It's like 10 miles, less than 10 miles out of my city. Anyway, this couple came from Kansas, at least 120 miles. They're on some kind of road trip. They go to the antique mall, park. You know, guy turns his car off, takes his key out, goes inside the shop. He comes back to put his key in. No turn. And so he calls me and asks today. He called me today to ask if I do engine or ignition repair, is how he said it. I forget how he worded it, but ignition repair. And I for sure, before he said year, make, and model, thought it was a Honda. But he said it's an 07 Hyundai Accent. And I was like, yeah, I do that. Wonder what it could be. And so he told me that the car had been there overnight and that he had had a couple people come out to look at it. Amateur locksmiths, as he called them. He had a couple of amateur locksmiths come out and look at it. And I said, what does that mean? He said, I had a tow truck driver come out and fiddle with it. Nothing happened. He said, then I had a taxi cab driver look at it. And I was like, a taxi cab driver? I thought about that. I was like, what the hell? Well, obviously they were stranded and they needed a hotel for the night. And so they called the taxi, and the taxi cab driver said that he was previously a locksmith. And they allowed him to look at it. Now, we locksmiths make a lot of money. I'm pretty damn sure that if you're a good locksmith, you wouldn't be a taxi cab driver. And so I was a little mystified. I was like, okay. Well, hopefully he didn't damage your car. So I gave a price range. You know, I said it could be $500. Who knows? Who knows what they did? So I go out there. These people have been stranded for about 18 hours now, okay? I go out there, and they hand me two keys. Husband's key, wife's key. And I compare. They're not very worn. It's an HY16 or something like that. It's a V series. It had V on the key. I was like, hey, that's cool. Shows the key series right there. I looked at them, and there's no obviously defects of the key. And I look at the ignition. It wasn't toyed with very much, thank God. I did the old finger test, and I stuck my finger on the face cap and pulled all sorts of oil residue. And so I flushed it with WD-40, stuck the key in there, and I tapped it with a screwdriver, and it was turning almost. And I was like, oh, look at that. I was like, we're almost there. And she was like, I can't believe it. And I just grabbed it, twisted right over. Oh, my teeth are grossing me out. But all of 3 minutes it took. And I was like, how about those amateurs now? And that's not my point. My point is not to cock swing or finger wag or whatever. It just is funny to me how the locksmith industry, from the public's perspective, is so small. They think, oh, you cut keys or you unlock cars. They don't have any idea of what EEPROM is, or like programming, or the transponder aspect of it all, or even ignition rebuilding, or even key cutting, how that is science. How it's XYZ on high security or XY on edge cut. And so it's like, it's kind of the industry's own fault of not informing the public of what we do. And so the public will put their trust into people they shouldn't. You know, i.e. the tow truck driver who's a locksmith, or the taxi cab driver who is a locksmith. And then whenever I was done in like 3 minutes, and literally I just used their key, that, a screwdriver, and pliers. Didn't damage a thing. And I could explain to them why the failure was there, because there was a part sticking out and we had to encourage it to come back down. There might have been something inhibiting the path of that part, and so we flush it to try to remove the debris, and we hit the key to try to force that part back down. I was like, man, this isn't even a simple job, and I blew these people's minds. And it's because from the outside perspective, the locksmith is not a skilled trade. I suppose it's like equivalent to sex. Everybody can do it, just some get paid to do it. I guess that's how they look at it. Like, anybody can be a locksmith.